Hey everyone, Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation, back with another Monday night weekly coaches chat. Coach Patrick does Mondays, Coach Rich does Wednesdays. We are your head coaches here at Endurance Nation, home of the world's largest online triathlon team, home of the first finish guarantee, home of lots of awesome things like 4 keys of race execution and much, much more. We are each group central for triathletes looking to do their best at Ironman or half Ironman distance events, and those of you looking to walk that path. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about that path. I'm going to talk about what it means to try and find bonus time, bonus opportunity in the course of your season. And there's a couple different reasons why I want to talk about this, but I do want to be honest. I'm totally pretending to be Dr. Evil because Daisy is on my lap, and Daisy loves to be on my lap when I talk. So just so you wonder what's going on, that's totally what it's all about. Finding bonus in your season, what does that mean? Well, it's kind of part and parcel with what it means to work with age group triathletes. Specifically, a plan and improvement is not enough. There has to be more. There has to be an extra edge, and it's something that I don't want to say all triathletes fall victim to it, but I would say 80% of them, regardless of ability, regardless of goals for the year, whatever it is, they all are kind of looking for a little bit more. So we're going to talk a little bit today about what it means to be able to identify places for you to tap into that bonus time, and then constructive ways for you to pursue it. And I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper here to kind of give you some backdrop. So I told you that 4 out of 5 triathletes want to get more out of their year. What does that mean? Well, when you work with a coach or when you're on a plan or whatever it is you're following, there's a point in your year where you see development, and then you'll also see what we call a plateau, and then you'll also see either a breakthrough or a regression, or perhaps you struggle with something like injury, whatever it may be. A bonus time for me is when people say, for example, okay, I'm on this training plan, I've been on this training plan for a couple weeks, and I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster, I'm getting fitter, but, right, the big old but I really want to raise my bike speed, or I really want to get faster on the run, or I just, this is just not enough. Like, the improvements that I'm seeing are not enough. I don't want to call it greedy, because I don't think people are necessarily being greedy, but the consequences, the downstream consequences of what it means to pursue additional volume, additional work, additional gains outside of the construct of your general plan is something that can have significant downstream impact on your season, on your fitness, on your sort of overall sort of mental wellness as you deal with the sport. It takes a lot of commitment, and the more you go forward, the more you pursue these things, the more they can become more of a gamble, right? They pay off big, or they don't pay off, and they don't pay off big at all. Many would compare it to that legend of Greek mythology of Daedalus and Icarus who flew too close to the sun. And his wax wings melted, right, trying to be like the gods, and he fell back to earth. It's very similar in that age group triathletes who start to gain some confidence, some familiarity with their workouts will, see what their friends are doing, or read an article, or talk to someone else who did what they want to do and decide that they want to do that as well. But instead of, say they want to, they want to ride their bike like a rock star. Instead of, looking at their training plan and saying, I'm going to take this part of my workout and I'm going to add this other work in, 4 out of 5 of people, they see what they're doing, like, I'm just going to put this extra work on top of it, and put some more work on top of it. And it ends up becoming a house of cards, which easily falls and leads to problems. And it's also hard on some level as a coach for me to even understand where your improvement's coming from if we're constantly making modifications and changes. One of the tenets of Endurance Nation's training is our basic week, which is a fundamental baseline approach to setting a schedule that you can achieve and execute. And then when you make lots of changes to that, it becomes a lot harder to manage. All right? So let me talk a little bit about how Endurance Nation plans work with this bonus time built in already. Okay, as a first-time athlete, a first-time member of Endurance Nation, first-year athlete in Endurance Nation, your bonus time is execution. You get faster. You'll be on a plan, and by virtue of that, you'll be faster just because you're on a plan. But you'll be faster in year one because you're going to learn how to execute. So you're not going to you're going to eliminate a lot of mistakes, a lot of headaches, and that's a very strong investment in how we want you to grow as an athlete. And we make that investment early in year one. So we're educating you. You're faster by virtue of the plan, A, physically, but then B, because you know how to do a better job than the competition and your former self, and how to put that fitness into play on the road on race day. Right? In year two, we transitioned to focusing on the bike. The bike is, for us, the easiest and safest place to add some volume. And so we add volume on the bike. It's the longest leg of any triathlon. So it's an easy opportunity. If we see a 10% gain on your bike, that could be 30 minutes improvement, whereas a 10% gain in your swim might just be 2 minutes. So we look at the bike. And then by year three, we tend to focus more on the run. And we'll also take a look at your disciplines and help you pick a race based on your ability and your geography, etc. But more often than not, you'll be enrolled in our Run Durability program, which is a 9-month build across your season, preparing you for the rigors of what race day entails. So very clearly, I want you to understand that we work you through a progression, but we do it in such a way that there is one bonus opportunity a year built in, right? Execution year one, bike year two, run year three. All right, so very simple, very straightforward, and that is by default built into how we approach your training as an endurance nation athlete. Okay, so what does it mean to want to do more? What it means to want to do more is you may not be aware of that 3-year progression, which I just told you about, so now you're aware of it. But you may not be aware of it. You may also want to see some gains, or maybe you're worried about a course, or you're anxious after several years of triathlon. It may be your first year in endurance nation, but after several years you really want to solve that bike problem or that run problem or whatever. So I'm going to talk here a little bit about what it means to kind of pick a bonus opportunity for you. One of the constructs I'd like you to think about is you pick a bonus opportunity and then how to go about implementing it. We'll kind of go through it. At first I'll talk about the construct, and then I'll talk a little bit about it from discipline to discipline. Okay? So the first construct I want you to think about is the number one thing that your bonus opportunity has to be is safe. Okay, your bonus opportunity can't put your long-term health and wellness at risk. So you may want to add, 3 more 1-hour runs to your schedule, and the best way to do that is to run from 11 until midnight every night. No, not going to happen. Okay, you may want to add. You may already be training kind of maxing your schedule, and you want to add another bike to it, so you're going to jam another bike in onto the day before your long run. No, not safe. Okay, and the reason why these things are not safe is that they tend to put your interim recovery at risk. People who identify themselves as desiring a bonus are inherently at a larger percentage of risk than their counterparts who opt to sort of follow the plan and keep things, calm and steady. And that's because people who are opting in for a bonus are more than willing to do the work. They're more than willing to go over and above and beyond what it takes to be successful. They've sought out this bonus time, and so when things start to go wrong or south, they're not gonna look at the warning signs. They're just gonna keep going because this is what I signed up for. This is the bonus time. This is where I'm doing this hard work. Not realizing again the downstream impact of excessive fatigue that you can't shed before race day, overuse injuries, mental or emotional or spiritual fatigue, etc. Okay, so number one protocol for us is safety, and that means both physical safety, but also safety of your season across the year. Okay? Number two, it has to be simple. We want something that's going to work for you. We want something that's going to be easy for you to implement. We'd all be faster if we biked 500 miles a week, like Cam Brown bikes 500 miles a week. But most of us don't have that time. Say that you average 20 miles an hour on the bike, that's 25 hours of cycling, not to mention running and then swimming and then recovering and eating and drinking. It's more than probably you work at your job when you add up all that time, right? And so when you look at it that way, you realize how costly that can become and how challenging it can be when you try and build out a full week. A slight anecdote here was when I first got started coaching, I had another coach as well who was, Scott Molina, veteran triathlon coach, amazing triathlete, so inspirational. Obviously he's won Kona, but just even more than that, just a driving force in the sport. And I worked with him, and his big focus for me was on volume. And he asked me for my training week, and so I told him, hey, here's a week where here's everything that I could possibly do as a human being to train. And he said, that's great. Do that for 10 weeks and then tell me how you do. So basically, I ate, slept, drank, ate, slept, drank, ate, triathlon. I fell asleep at my desk. I fell asleep in the car. I fell asleep on the bus. I fell asleep in meetings. I had a 2-liter bottle of Coke in my swim locker at lunchtime that I would drink Coke while swimming just so I could stay awake and keep going. It was insane. And I didn't really see the gains that I wanted then, right? I did see some gains significantly later on, but the point being, I made a choice that was not simple and really put the rest of my lifestyle at risk. So number 1 is safety in the construct. Number 2 is simplicity, okay? And then number 3 for me is the long-term impact, okay? So if we're gonna advance into a bonus scenario for you, I want something that's gonna be successful, that's gonna work for you for a long time to come. So the number 1 reason why we choose execution as a team is because once you learn how to execute, you can always execute. It's like riding a bike. You know how to ride a bike. You know how to bike. You know how to execute. Right? You're gonna go too hard on this hill? No. You know how to execute. You're gonna not eat or drink when you feel good? No. You're gonna execute. You're not gonna slow down when it gets really hot? No. You're gonna execute because you know how to execute, and we drill that in you. In year 2, we focus on the bike. I'm a big fan of the bike because that's safe in terms of on your body, but it's also sustainable fitness. It's deep fitness. It's easy to carry with you across your year. It becomes a reservoir you can tap into over time without the almost exponential level of fatigue that would come from running. Okay, so that's there. And so I think about safety, simplicity, and then we'll just call it downstream impact. Okay, so those are the 3 criteria that I have for choosing a bonus for you. All right. So now let's step back for a second and think about what it means to have bonuses within the course of your year. Where do you want to see the most improvement? Well, again, in general, our bias inside Endurance Nation is towards the bike. It's the biggest place for people to see improvement, and there's a lot of room for people to develop as athletes on the bike. Most of us don't ride the bike enough. The big joke about a triathlete is you can tell someone is a triathlete because you wave to them as they ride by, and they wave back, and then they swerve 8 feet to the left. Because they can't ride their bicycle without holding on with 2 hands. And so there's a lot of skills, but there's also a level of comfort and strength. In a long course triathlon scenario, whether it's Ironman or half Ironman, you're really looking at sustained power. 3-hour power, 4-hour power, 5-hour power, and that's built by focusing time on the bike and getting really, really strong on the bike. And so we have plans and resources for you to become stronger. And in general, we recommend things like big bike weekends, in our camp weekend, or training camps on the bike, all the things that we offer and organize as a team to make sure that you have a chance to really kind of improve and drive that ball forward. And then, so for me, the number 1 thing that you should think about when you think about bonus time is the bike. So people will say, I want to be faster, I want to have a better race. A faster or better race is not necessarily a function of fitness, execution. But it's also a function of how you improve certain elements. So you can become a better runner by doing a better job cycling. And in many ways, when you read our Year 3 Run Durability Project guidance, you'll see that a lot of it comes down to being a better runner in a race situation. It's about having stronger bike fitness, but not using it, not blowing yourself up on the bike, which is more often than not what type A or aggressive or race-focused or outcome-focused triathletes will do. So again, we talk about the construct, then we talk about the disciplines. Bike, number 1, easiest, no-brainer. After that, we have the swim and the run. Now, I'm a fan of working on the run, but I do realize that when you want to focus on the run, you have to be very smart about it. You cannot up the volume. You cannot jam a bunch of run miles into one weekend like you can on the bike. Running volume and running improvement from a bonus scenario is about long-term focus. It's about consistency. It's not about flash. It's about building things up, building your durability. And that is achieved over time. So if you opt into a run bonus scenario, you have to understand, looking in the mirror and saying, hey, this is a 3-month or a 4-month or a 5-month project. This is not, I'm going to go away to New Hampshire this weekend and run a bunch of hills and become a better runner. Becoming a better runner is a real undertaking, and not everyone is willing to do all the work required to become better, from stretching and recovery to the running to the warming up, etc. And that is an all-inclusive element of running. Now that said, after the bike, the run has the biggest improvement for you on race day. And for those of you who don't have a significant run history or experience running, a run-focused block can give you a lot of confidence and teach you more about yourself, who you are as a runner, and allow you to become more successful at those critical workouts, but also on race day, simply by virtue of becoming more comfortable and more confident in your running style, running nutrition, run pacing, etc. The third and final discipline is swimming. For most people, swimming is not something that you would seek the bonus in unless safety is a big concern for you. If you're really worried about safety, panic attack, or whatever your anxiety may be around the swim, then focusing on the swim may become useful for you as a tool to become more confident and ready for your race day. Very few triathletes should focus significantly on the swim in terms of overall race performance, unless being out of the water early is a critical success factor for your race. You know, say a race like Kona, where you want to be out of the water early to reduce the winds and avoid the rush. Then yeah, you may want to work on that swim. All right, so one more element of the bonus side that I want to talk about, and that's timing. Okay, from a swim perspective, bonus time on the swim, I typically like more swimming closer to the race. So I would look at the last 4 weeks as being a time to really go all in on those swim workouts if you want to focus on the swim. So don't start swimming in January for your August race because you want to be a better swimmer. Swim as you normally would inside endurance station, but we definitely want to plan on that bonus time, that extra time in the final 4 weeks leading up to your race. And in those 4 weeks, you know, say for an Ironman, you might be doing a 16K a week in the pool, 4K a workout, just to build up that durability and sharpen things up there at the end. Right? From a bike perspective, cycling can happen almost any time. You know, ideally, we recommend a camp early in your season, spring, like sort of late winter, early spring time frame. Is a great time to kind of add some bike volume and fitness to your overall repertoire before you go into your race preparation period. You can do big cycling all the way up until about week 6 if required, or if you can handle it, right? Which includes camp week as we go. And then finally, the run. The run, as I mentioned earlier, requires that big build-up. You know, our run focus is a commitment you start in the winter. You may start that in November for a January race. For a July race, just because you have to spend that much time lining things up to make sure that you're able to sustain the workload, handle the workload, be able to continue to push the bike and swim when it comes up, because your run is in such a good place. And so the running commitment isn't something that you just line up right away. You don't just wake up one day 5 weeks out from your race and say, hey, I want to be a faster runner and I'm going to do 3 things and become faster. You know, in that case, there's other scenarios you want to look into for finding free speed on race day, whether it's execution or nutrition or whatever that may be. So today I've talked about finding your bonus. It's okay to want to find your bonus, but as an endurance station athlete, I want you to understand how the framework works for you. So you've already kind of outlined a default bonus selection. Year 1 is execution, year 2 is on the bike, and year 3 is on the run. And I also want you to understand the significance of that work. You know, the downstream impact and how to choose things. And that construct for us is safety, simplicity, and then downstream impact. We want to do things that are not going to injure us or put us at risk. We want to do things that are easy to fit into our life, our schedule, like one camp weekend or a specific event, something simple. And we want to do something that's going to have a downstream impact. So, you know, improving the swim right now isn't going to stick with me forever because I'm going to step something. But my big bike block, or my season-long run focus may put me in a place where that run fitness continues to generate benefits for me downstream. Okay. All this has been helpful. It's slightly abstract. It's hard to talk in general terms, and everyone's a little different. But I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of people out there are emboldened and excited by their success and want to see more and more results faster, and they're looking for other ways to make sure that they can be really good at the race and you know, sort of realize their potential. It doesn't always mean that more work is the answer, but if it is more work in your scenario, hopefully this discussion has helped you think a little bit more about how to handle it, how to get things out. Of course, Coach Rich and I are always available to talk to you in the forums. I'm in the micro forum, and Coach Rich is in the macro forum. Go ahead and type up your questions, post them there. We can even go over to the general training boards and talk with the team about how they've leveraged volume at specific weekends or even season-long focuses to achieve their bonus goals, as it were. All right. So now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the chat room here. I see we have Bill, Derek, Carla, Laura, Mark. Nice to see you guys tonight. Happy to chat with you guys if you have questions. So I see we have some other people here. Natalie's been in and out. Would love to hear if you guys have any questions, either about this topic or anything else related to your training and racing adventures, as it were. For those of you who are just watching in who are not a member, Endurance Nation, this is a coaches chat that we do every week. It's an opportunity for our athletes to learn about something on a specific topic, and also to ask us questions directly about anything related to their training or racing that may be an issue. Sort of like a live chat option, which I think is pretty unique in the triathlon space. But it's also a nice opportunity, given how robust the forums are, and email and chat and text and all those things. It's always nice to, be able to communicate at a more personal level, as this may be. All right. Let's type it in there. Let's see if they have any questions. The bonus time for me is it's a great conversation to have with our athletes, and it's a very telling conversation. You learn a lot about a person when they talk a little bit more about what more they want, right? That's in many ways, as a coach, it's an opportunity to peek inside the psyche of our athletes or an individual and learn more about what matters to them and what their goals really are. A lot of times people will start off kind of hedging their bets. They won't say things right away, but over time it'll start to come out kind of what their goals are, and that's important. You need to be in touch with that goal. I talk a lot about Ricky Racer and how Ricky Racer always does the wrong things on race day, but truth be told, we all have a little bit of Ricky Racer in us, and it's always better to understand those tendencies, understand those desires about training or volume or commitment, etc., and explore them, in a way that can be constructive, which is ultimately what we want to do. All right, so we got a question here from Carla. Carla's asking about bike shoes. Are there any specific features that are good for Ironman races? Carla, that's a great question. Comfort, obviously, is the number one thing. And I think about when you're riding in Ironman scenario, one of the big things that comes up is your feet will swell, etc. So you almost want to go, I don't say a half size, but you want a shoe that's very comfortable, all right, so that your foot can expand, etc. You're all right. The other element I think about is Velcro closures. My bicycle shoes have 2 Velcro closure, and they have a gap in between them open, so it's kind of open and exposed, mesh upper, and so I can keep the bottom Velcro strap closed, but the top one is loose, so I can easily put my foot in if I want to do the mounting on the bike in, say, Kona. But normally for an Ironman, I'll have my bike shoes on. I'll kind of waddle to my bike or run on the grass if there is grass there. So again, comfort really is key for me. Other than that, the Velcro closures, obviously. I'm not a fan of things like dials and strings, and you want something you can easily just reach down and snug up or loosen up depending on how you feel when you're on the bike. All right, that's a great question. Also ask in the gear form, get some input from other teammates, and don't forget we have great discounts at retailers like Inside Out Sports sell bike shoes to you. All right, Mark has a good question here. One thing I wonder about is when to rest and when to push on. For instance, sometimes I get on the bike and during the warm-up my quads feel sore, but then as I get going I'm able to hit my numbers. Do you have any suggestions to gauge when I have too much fatigue and I should back off or push on? I do cut it short if I can't hit the numbers. Okay, well that's number one, Mark, is to say if you can't hit the numbers, that's a clear indicator that fatigue is there. I think the phenomenon you're describing, which is I'll call early onset fatigue, that you're able to break through, that's an early warning sign of fatigue is building up. So there's nothing wrong with being fatigued when you warm up, but once you get going, you're good. That's fine. That's not the level of fatigue you want to have right before your race, but it is a level of fatigue that I believe means you're in sort of that critical phase of building fitness and really challenging yourself. For me, indicators that fatigue is too much of a factor or I'm beyond my means is much more than what I see on the dial. I think one of our members, Al Truscott, had mentioned back in the day that he just got really grumpy. He just got really nasty And so his big indicator was, how his wife would tell him off when he was being too much of a grumpy pants. I think another great indicator for fatigue is quality of sleep. If you're getting worse and worse sleep and you're waking up more and more tired and less rested, it's a clear indicator that you, whether the stress is from training or from work or personal or emotional or whatever it is, bad stress is becoming almost too much for you to bear as an indicator. And then, as always, we recommend our standard bike and run warm-ups, where it's an opportunity for you to track your heart rate over a critical element, and we track that over time. And you'll have a window which is acceptable and a window which is not. So you almost learn in the course of that warm-up what your workout's going to be like and if you need to adjust. Okay? Let's say you have an interval workout for today, and the numbers aren't coming to you. You can still do a decent workout. You don't have to just get off the bike and go crawl into bed. But when you start to notice things like you don't want to get out of bed, or you're not interested in riding your bike, or you just need more and more sleep, those are definitely signs of overdoing it. And I would much rather have you preemptively take a day off and then reach out to me. I can always fix a day off. That is easy. What I cannot fix is when you ignore all the warning signs and you put yourself in a gigantic hole, and now there you are laying at the bottom of your hole, totally exhausted, can't even put your hand up to get lifted out, and you want help. And there's not a lot that we can do proactively for you other than recommending you rest. So those are some indicators that I think about. Okay? Ooh, Carla's got more questions. Hold on. Oh, okay. Carla's asking about gear. I'm trying to figure out what endurance nation gear to buy. Do most people wear the EN Pro tri-top during the bike and the run of their IM, or do people change from the cycling jersey to a technical tee? Are those tops sun protective? Most people, it's all, again, a function of comfort, Carla. And some people don't want to wear their tri-top all day. And some people prefer to bike in a bike jersey. I think it's more a function of what your comfort level is. I personally race in a tri-top, and I race in it all day. I don't need pockets or other things on my bike jersey to make me feel better. With any of those tops, you want to cover yourself in sunscreen. The Pro tops are definitely very lightweight. They're very cool, but you are exposed, so you need sunscreen all over your body, regardless of that. You can opt for the more recreational level fabric, which is certainly a little thicker, but it's really up to you. I find the Pro stuff is pretty comfortable. If you liberally apply the sunscreen, etc., you should be, you should be fine. Just a bullfrog before the race or whatever it is. Since it's not where you number up, you can, go to town with the sunscreen and make sure that you're safe. Changing, the one thing I will mention, Carl, though, is that changing gear during the race is really hard. When you're hot and sweaty and tired, it's not easy getting one thing off and putting another thing on. It just kind of gets stuck up around your neck, and then you're almost like losing a battle with an anaconda. You can't breathe. Your arm is like stuck next to your head. You're trying to get it all on. So, again, simplicity and ease of use is important. It's definitely sort of a gut question. Now, if you're really worried about the sun, a cycling jersey may be a better call because you've got the shoulder coverage. You also have more pockets, etc., to manage things, and it may be easier for you to take off. But then you're either running in it or you're going to change it to a t-shirt, which is either way. So either way, I think you'll win, Carl. I hope that helps. But it may be worthwhile asking some of the women as well and get their input. Derek says, how would I adjust a weekly plan to move the Thursday long run to the weekend? I'm not going to always have time for a long run on Thursday. Derek, great question. Standard protocol for moving your Thursday long run to the weekend. Now, normally, for those of you who don't know, we normally ride long on Saturday and Sunday to maximize our weekend training time. If Sunday is not a ride opportunity for you, then Sunday becomes your long run. So you'll do your long bike on Saturday with the brick workout, either your run or before or after, and then you're going to go ahead and do that long run on Sunday. So what happens is you've lost that ABP ride, always be pushing ride on Sunday, which is zone 3 training time. And so we'll put that workout on Thursday in the place of that long run workout that you move to Sunday. We're just kind of swapping Thursday and Sunday's workouts. And so Thursday will be an ABP ride, so you warm up, on the trainer, etc. And I expect you to get in between 75 to 90 minutes of ABP time. You can do that on a trainer. It's about the same duration as your long run would be, and you're done. Very simple. So you've gotten your 3 key bike workouts, and you've gotten in. You still manage to retain that long run, even though it is on Sunday. The only challenge you have to be mindful of is that when those weeks consistently change. So, if one week you do a Thursday run, and then you know that the next Thursday is not going to actually bump that to Sunday, you've almost got 10 days between long runs, which is fine. But then if you're on that Sunday for your long run, and the next week you're like, oh, I can't do it Wednesday, then you've only got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before you run long again. And that transition back, going from an off-schedule long run on a Sunday or Saturday, and then going back to a normal schedule on Thursday means a compressed time frame for recovery. And generally, I usually recommend we cut a little bit of time off that second long run, because the fatigue is going to be there. So you want to be mindful of how you handle that, swapping, and think ahead, plan ahead for that. All right. These are great questions, guys. 9:36 on Monday the 28th. Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation answering member questions and talking a little bit about how to find bonus time and adjusting your season to make the small level improvements that will have a big downstream impact for you. Well, let me see if you guys have any last minute questions for me. I got to about 9:40. We did, oh, you guys, here we are. So it's been crazy town here as always. I've got my Blue Ridge Cycling Camp this week. Leave on Wednesday morning to head down to North Carolina. Very excited about that. 21 folks coming this year. Lots of riding, epic riding. The longer folks, the people doing the distance every day, we're probably putting close to 340 miles in 4 days, with something in the neighborhood of 35 to 40,000 feet of gain. So it's a big block. It's a fantastic ride. Weather looks good. Knock on wood. Very excited about that. But the logistics of all that is just crazy as well. We added to the fun by putting in, I don't know if you can see that, putting in laminate flooring up here, which is just so easy. So just doing that as well. So it's a lot of starts to add up as we go, in terms of work and bandwidth. All right. Well, looks like everyone's all set. Well, folks, I'm going to be on the road this Wednesday, but you guys can reach me on my phone. You guys have my phone number, my cell phone. I'm in the car all day. I can talk to you then. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be at camp, so things will be a little quieter for me on the boards, and I apologize in advance for that. But I am available on the text line if you guys do need me. All right. Thanks again so much for tuning in. This is Coach Patrick from Endurance Nation, the world's largest online triathlon team, 2013 Ironman Tri Club Division I World Champions, home of the 4 Keys, creators of the First Finish Guarantee, and so much more. Please feel free to join us, check us out, create a free 7-day trial, explore the team. It's always a 30-day money-back guarantee, no risks, lots of cool people inside the team, way cooler than me. I'm just a dude. All right, guys, have a great night. Thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys online or at the races.